Good morning, everybody. My name is Andre Miguel Ovejas, and I will be arguing on the current issue of staying silent and not speaking up in society while also applying the knowledge of moral courage and the aspects of social psychology. I want to start off with what's happening in the world. Too many people are staying silent right now. So that whether it ranges from solving a world issue like poverty, hunger, to even breaking up a small fight. It's not just adults that are guilty of this, kids are also guilty of this. But the question is, why are they doing this? We will find out later on. These are just real life examples that will be mentioned later on for more detail. Before we start, I want to introduce some basic vocabulary just to get a quick head start on what to expect. So, bystander effect, coined by psychologists John Andarli and Bev Latané. It is defined as the tendency to not help in a situation with the presence of others. So, we've all been in a situation before where we come across something like seeing people on the streets asking for help, seeing many signs like Free Palestine or whatever, and then what do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We just ignore it, nothing ever happened, move on. Now, the bystander effect can be branched out into three different concepts: diffusion of responsibility, pluralistic ignorance, and audience inhibition. Diffusion of responsibility can be defined as the tendency to divide personal responsibility to help within the amount of bystanders present. So basically, you're relying on whoever is there. You're assuming that they're going to help before you help, which is a little bit problematic because in reality, no one is going to help remediate the situation. Pluralistic ignorance is the idea that you're relying on others' reactions in order before you step in and stop whatever is happening. So let's just say you're taking a test and you see someone cheat. The first instinct you want to do is report it to the teacher, but you see other kids, they're staying quiet and encouraging that, so you decide to go along with them just so you can fit in with everyone else. And then audience inhibition, also defined as evaluation apprehension, can be defined as the fear of being judged when acting out in a public situation. Basically, this is one of the biggest factors as to why people do not interfere, because they know they are going to be involved in the situation, and depending on where it goes, they will be judged for it. So here are some real life examples. Kitty Genovese, she was raped and murdered in Queens, New York, and so many people in our apartment heard it. They witnessed some parts of the whole hour-long attack. That's right, it is 1 hour. And what did they do? Nothing. They just left it alone, went on with their business, and guess what? She dies. A lot of psychologists are familiar with this case study, which is why more experiments, case studies, and theories are being conducted to study more on this whole thing. Nuremberg trials. Everyone is familiar with the Holocaust. SS soldiers doing their job to gather up the Jewish in a certain area and then exterminating them. What we don't know is that these guys actually have separate feelings compared to what they usually do. One quote that stuck out to me was Haas's response to Dr. Kaufman's question: did you yourself ever feel pity with the victims? Thinking of your own family and children? He says yes. He knows that this is wrong. He knows what he's doing is just messed up, but knows he cannot do anything because his other soldiers are doing it, and also the idea of obeying whoever is giving the orders. This perfectly demonstrates pluralistic ignorance because he has different emotions compared to the others, but knows he cannot just express it. He has to keep it to himself and just move on with his duties. Last one, the vaccine denial. This happened like a couple years, not too long ago. COVID-19 happened, and microbiologist Maria Elena Bottazzi wrote a story explaining the journey with her making a vaccine to help stop this whole COVID virus. She came across a couple of risks and challenges though. One suggested a recombinant protein-based platform, and other was giving her a warning that this is going to be risky and it's not really prioritized at the moment. Despite all that, she knew what was happening. She knew what to do, and so no matter what, she just decided to stick to her plan with creating the vaccine and sharing it with the world. And look at us now. We are much better. COVID is like dying out now. It's all because of having the moral courage to pursue on something she knew she was really passionate and she felt was really important. All of this information now leads us to the bigger question: how can moral courage affect those who stay silent and those who speak up in a situation? Based on the information, moral courage can change society because of people who are brave and strong enough to act on just one small decision. One thing leads to a bigger thing. Now, before we get into any solutions, I will give you a definition of moral courage. According to Sylvia Oswald, Department of Psychology in Ludwig Maximilians University of Munich, Germany, and other authors and contributors to this journal, moral courage is defined as the expression of personal views and values in the face of dissension and rejection, as well as when an individual stands up to someone with power over him or her for the greater good. Dissension and rejection basically refers to the risk and the consequences they are anticipating when they choose to intervene or speak up. But for the greater good, that's what overpowers the dissension and rejection. They know something must be fixed, and so by choosing to act on it for the greater good, the risks and consequences are worth what happens afterwards. So in the next couple slides, I'll be talking about 2 solutions to developing moral courage and preventing more silence, as well as some limitations. Solution number 1: know the steps. There were so many sources that included these steps, but I chose the Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis Journal. The 5 steps of bystander intervention is to notice the event, interpret it as an emergency, take personal responsibility. Number 4, decide how you are going to intervene, and then number 5, take action on how to intervene. Another thing to keep in mind is the 3 Ds: direct, delegate, and distract. Direct meaning putting yourself directly into the situation and having you remediate it yourself. Delegate, get someone who you feel can handle the situation better, whether it be a teacher or a police officer or government. And distract anyone who is involved in the event so that the situation doesn't escalate to something even worse. Second solution is to educate it to younger kids. We have a new generation coming up, and in order for them to strive in a society that we are living in right now, it's better to teach moral courage. Yeah. Give them examples from previous leaders, spark their brains with the current event or previous, and inspire them to make a change in society. Because who knows what may happen in the future? They might do something that might change the whole world positively. There are some limitations, of course. On the positive side, it does teach responsibility, overcoming barriers like fear, and influencing other crucial traits like productivity and quality of life, according to Zara Koshmer and other authors and contributors to the research article Moral Courage and Psychological Empowerment Among Nurses from BMC Nursing. On the negative side, however, as I mentioned earlier, if you choose to intervene, you are anticipating negative social consequences and risks such as loss of job, rejected from society, or being attacked physically. And also another thing, by educating it to your kids, you are also encouraging them to take risks which might end up affecting their life physically or mentally or emotionally. Another limitation, internal conflict. We all have these personal thoughts where we are like, oh my God, should I do this? Should I do that? What's gonna happen next? We get face to face with our conscious, moral rights, and emotions. That is also an important factor to consider if you're choosing to intervene, because you know your moral rights, you know what's right and wrong, and you know what is happening. Also, one more thing, there's only one person who can make the decision to intervene, and that person is you. You know your rights and wrongs, you know what is going on, you know your body well. Only you can decide what to do. Before we finish off, I want to leave off with one more quote from Simon Sinek, author of Start With Why, which says, "We say what we do, we sometimes say how we do it, but we rarely say why we do it." This is a really powerful quote as it can relate to our everyday functions like work, schoolwork, etc. When Sinek wrote this, he was referring to his organizations and famous companies that are providing for the public, but it's not just organizations and famous companies that can make a difference in our lives. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you learned at least one thing from this presentation. And remember, one small act can create a huge difference in our society. Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple questions for you. First one, how did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
So when I first had the research question, it was pretty vague considering that you're getting feedback from you and a couple of my peers. But as soon as I continued to do more research, I started to learn a little bit more. And because of that, I was able to generate enough information to create a research question that's even better than my first one.
Okay, and how did you use the conclusions and questions of others to advance your own research?
Well, these research and the conclusions allowed me to understand a little bit more about what is happening and how staying silent can be dangerous to society. It really depends on the situation, though, when it comes to staying silent. One could actually keep you safe, and another could put someone's life or entire society in danger. And so the conclusions and questions of others allowed me to generate more knowledge and more questions to research whatever I can to make sure all those questions are answered.
Okay, thank you.